This is a language we speak, so why cannot we write it down? At the university, we start learning to write to truly write the pure Creole. We usually put a word in front to define the quantity. For example, the word "emobana."
Ended up learning that we pronounce every letters. All the letters we hear, we write them the same way.
I wanted to know how to write it.
It was time for Mauritius to have its mother tongue as its official language.
Ladies and gentlemen, welcome to our new episode of Reading and Writing in Mauritian Creole. Today in our program, we talk about human rights, and especially older people's rights. The team and I are heading to the DIS-MOI Association in Sodnak, Cotter Borns. And today we are being welcomed by members of this NGO. They'll be talking to us about the importance of human rights, the campaigns they organize and, above all, the Observatory for the Rights of Older People. Mr. Vijay Naraidu, thank you for welcoming us. Today, at the Sodnak office, we are going to talk about human rights as we announced in our introduction to DIS-MOI. First of all, as we do with everyone, who is Mr. Vijay Naraidu?
First, thank you for the opportunity to explain what DIS-MOI is all about. At the moment, I am in charge of the Commission on the Rights of Older Persons in the organization here. DIS-MOI stands for Dryad Humane Ocean Indian, an organization we set up in 2011. But it's also important to say that some of us in the organization were active in a personal capacity, some in Amnesty, in youth clubs, in trade union organizations, among others. But we found common ground where we had a common goal to defend human rights, in order to explain human rights to the public, and how we can, each component of society, how we can defend human rights together with the public, children, women, the older people, vulnerable people, and everyone. So, we are launching a campaign to raise awareness on the issue of human rights, already since 2011. The structure of DIS-MOI is like this. That is to say that there's a commission. At the head of each commission, there's a person with a team so as to put the focus on a specific subject. For example, a person with a disability, a woman, an older person, a child, the environment. So each of these 5 commissions work. And everything is points toward what is called respect and human dignity. That is to say, a person, citizens of the country.
You mention it. It's important, Vijay Naraidu, that everyone knows their rights, yet often these rights are not truly accessible to everyone.
You know, we live in a society where we have sets of laws. That has a good custom. That has a good way of doing things. The society is such that we know we have to walk on the right side of the road. We are not allowed to walk on the left side, but there are things we do out of habit. But we have to codify, explain to the citizens. We start with what we can do at DIS-MOI. There are DIS-MOI clubs in our secondary school where we explain to young people not only what human rights are, but also what their responsibilities are. So, when we do this balance, we want to be able to see responsible citizens. So, when we come back to what we call the human right to older persons, what we want is for young people to carry a project, to carry the message to the population, what we call establishing an intergenerational dialogue between young and older person. Yes, so it is important that each of the citizens understand these rights, understand these responsibilities, and must understand that his or her right ends where another citizen's right begins.
So, Mr. Vijay Naraidu, as you mentioned, it is important that there is a relationship between the 2 generations, the older and also the young, because there is an aging population. And the message should be that young people need to be able to look after our older persons, listen to them, and to protect their rights.
The key message is that the rights of older people should not change with age. Our rights should stay the same. Older people have an even greater need for respect, dignity, protection, and no longer denied the opportunity to exercise their rights. The right to reflection, autonomy, independence. They are people who have experience and with whom we need to learn. So a young person needs to recognize that this older person has arrived where he has arrived, whatever the job she had, whatever professional activity he had. That person has a rich experience. So youth needs to understand that. An older person is useful. Older person contributes, is still able and capable to continue, working or not, or maybe in an informal sector, but continues to contribute to the socio-economic development of the country. So that's the main message we want to convey to youth. Understand that an older person is a university, a wealth of knowledge, whatever the job or professional activity there is. We all have to learn from them. This is why older person has a place in society. One must have a positive attitude, not a negative attitude. This is where we see ageism. It is a negative attitude towards an older person. Sometimes there's an older person in a meeting like that, as if he needs to be daring to speak, to ask for permission to speak, but it should be natural for him to speak. He should be able to participate. When he expresses an opinion, someone may come to him and say, "Keep quiet, what do you know?" That's what hurt his inner strength. We hurt his psychology. We hurt his personality. But this person has a right to expression. We have that in our Constitution. He has a right to speak. He has a right to express himself. He has a right to say what he thinks. Naturally, what he thinks is open to debate. We must be able to give him the opportunity to explain and then discuss, whether at home, on the bus, at the market, or in a meeting. Wherever we are, an older person has the same rights as other citizens.
As you announced, you are running an intergenerational campaign between young people and older people. It is important that there is communication, especially as we are an aging population. Young people are able to listen to what older people have to say, don't they?
What we have been doing since the founding of the NGO, DIS-MOI, is what is called outreach. We don't stay in the head office, in the center, because the center is a working tool. That's how we got out. We have proof, evidence, and we continue to do so, and we are conducting a campaign all around Mauritius, in the city, in the countryside, in the neighborhood. We hold meetings with the older people within the Association of the Older People. In partnership, we work in collaboration with the Senior Citizens Council. You see, we work in collaboration with other NGOs. So when we hold meetings, that's the message we bring. We are putting emphasis on this question of intergenerational relations. So we don't just have older people in the audience. In the audience, there are young people, young college students, young employees. There are young people who are doing apprenticeships. So our audience is mixed. So the message reaches everyone at the same time. Now we have the youth wing, called DIS-MOI Zen. They do a fantastic job. You will have the opportunity to listen to them. They go to the colleges. They meet our young people. And what's more, you know what we're doing? We offer online courses. So when the online courses are finished, completed, we consolidate the messages we have given them into the training courses we offer here in person, in our center. So all these activities are under our belts. And now we have a regular publication at weekly level every Monday where we get the message out. I am happy to tell you that beyond Mauritius, we have a great presence in Rodriguez. We also have a presence in Agalega, And if I had to tell you more about DIS-MOI, its vision, its mission, we have developed a culture of human rights in the islands of the southwestern Indian Ocean. Whether in Mauritius, Agalega, Reunion, Madagascar, Seychelles, Comoros, we have been to all these countries. We have visited, talked to them. We have activist friends, advocates, as we say, like us. We, how can I put it, are developing what is called DIS-MOI coalition. We already have a presence everywhere, and we have regular contacts. We exchange views. We have joint projects with these DIS-MOI. So that's how we grew in an expansive way.
So, when we talk about campaigns, as you mentioned VJ Neredu, it's mainly campaigns where you use the native Mauritian Creole language because the message has to get across, and the message gets across much better. This is missing. In campaigns, as you mentioned, you use the native Mauritian Creole language to convey the message much better.
Yes, speaking a foreign language would be disrespectful to our mother tongue, and others won't understand. So the message is clearer in the Creole, in the language that everyone understands. Whatever the concept is in the English text, in French, whatever the concept is, it is explained more clearly. It is a matter of pedagogy, not andragogy. Andragogy is when we do adult education. Andragogy is important. Some people did not go to school. There's a need to respect people who have not been able to go to school. It's great when you explain during a conference, a meeting, or an explanatory session. We appreciate it when people leave the session. Finally, as they say, it creates a buzz in each of these people's homes, where they start talking about human rights. We're happy because of the positive returns. People come back wanting more training. So, as far as possible, we do it. Besides explanations and campaigns, we go out and meet people. We go to Case Noyle, Rivière de Anguilles, Flac in the north, everywhere, Beaubassin, Curepipe, everywhere. When people are interested, they contact us and we go. That's it.
And in 2011, when you started your campaigns, was it at that time that you started using the Creole language to make your slides, your presentations?
We use the Creole language all the time. Certainly, if we have a foreign audience who understands just English or French, we do so. We don't deprive ourselves of this possibility because communication is very important, and it's very important to communicate the message we want to convey to others. So, yes, we use the Creole language all the time. We use it all the time. Personally, I've had the opportunity to do literacy classes in the past, at the time for a long, long time. And I did literacy classes with people from Diego who lived in Port Louis. And that's great. So, I understand the importance of people not only being able to listen to the Creole language, but also writing it. Because once they've written it, they are liberated, like a wall coming down, a light shining. The Creole language allows them to do that. It's also a way for people you meet to get the message more clearly and easily. Of course, it's so natural. Because he expresses himself in his mother tongue language. And it doesn't matter what country you go to when you speak to locals in their mother tongue. They express their feelings, their thoughts. They express all that better in their mother tongue.
So, VJ Neredu, we're talking about human rights and touring the country, including the islands. Is anyone calling here, at DIS-MOI headquarters at Sodnak, to report abuses?
Yes, people call us regularly, whether from Beauvalin, L'Escalier, or up north. Some people come here to meet us. We listen to them. We also have a pro bono service. We have a free service for people who can't afford it. And that's precisely what prompted us to launch this year-long project, an observatory to collect information about current state and collate information to make an assessment, a report data, as we call it, taking stock after a year of what we've done, analyzing and reporting on everything we've collected in terms of mistreatment, in terms of abuse, but also if there are things that have been done well with regard to older people, that too, in the Elderly Watch Observatory. We will see if we can do it. My young friends here will be discussing this a little more later.
So we're still talking about abuse, and then we'll discuss the observatory. What is the most common complaint made to DIS-MOI?
First of all, let me tell you, abuse isn't just found in one social class. It's like a person not getting their medicine in the morning that the doctor prescribed, and the person who looked after her didn't give her the medicine. That's mistreatment of this person, who you've left to fend for herself. If you've left her there, all alone, locked up in a house, because you thought she was suffering from Alzheimer's or some other illness, you're locking her up without a carer. That's abuse. If a young person beats up an elderly person in their home, they are blackmailing that person psychologically, morally. For example, if you don't give me money, I won't give you your medication. You see, violence, there are words that are used to offend this person. Inwardly, these are all cases we receive. We read about them in newspaper. Well, often there are cases that people say are true, but we have to check whether these cases are true or not, so that we can move forward on the issue. So, yes, that's precisely the point. These cases of abuse, mistreatment, the things we hear, that people tell us cause us problems. That's what motivates us even more to set up this observatory.
And do you report these cases to the relevant authorities?
Normally, the authority is first and foremost a minister for Social Security. But we also tell the person to go and get closer to the authorities from the Social Security office. Because in every district, there's something we call Elderly Watch. Under the legislation, Protection of Elderly Act, there's an entity called Elderly Watch. In it, there are local elders. There's a Social Security officials. There's the police, all involved. It is a committee, a group of people who are attentive. They have to watch and listen to what's going on in society. These people have to be known by the local people. So if tomorrow there is someone in difficulty in their home or elsewhere, they go there. He tells them about the problems he is facing. Then the local or district Elderly Watch Committee calls the family to mediate, to listen, to mediate, so that there can be reconciliation. Do you understand? So, we refer the person to these Elderly Watch. We remind people that in every locality, in every district where they are, there's an Elderly Watch that must be used. This is the official body set up by the authorities.
The Observatory for the Elderly has just been launched a few months ago in April. And as you said, it's a campaign that can run for a year. And it is important that you go all over the island to get the message across.
Yes. Let me remind you that we launched this campaign in the presence of the Minister for Social Security on Saturday. So there are activities that need to be put in place to implement it. For example, we have in mind a survey that we're going to carry out in order to be able to measure to what extent an elderly person is a victim of ageism, abuse, mistreatment. That's an activity. Earlier, I talked about collecting information. We will have that. We're going to meet the young people too.
In any case, VJ Neredu, our team, Ekrir, Kreol Morisien. We wish you all the best for your year-long campaign. And we hope that next IR, we will get together again to draw conclusions from this report.
That is my sincerest wish. We will be there. Thank you.
Thank you very much, VJ.
Hi, I'm Mahima Ranglal, Assistant Youth Coordinator and leader of DIS-MOI Zen at DIS-MOI.
Hi, I'm Fanarisoa Raznatovo, Regional Youth Coordinator at DIS-MOI. By the way, what does Youth Coordinator mean? It is when we set up a DIS-MOI class in secondary school, and also, as Mahima mentioned, we have DIS-MOI Zen. So, what is a DIS-MOI club? A DIS-MOI club, in fact, is a club for young people aged 15 to 24 who, well, DIS-MOI Zen is 15 to 24, but DIS-MOI club is 15 to 18. Either we set up a club in a secondary school, or we come to talk about the rights and responsibilities of young people. Why did we think this was important? We realized that young people know their rights but not necessarily the responsibilities that go with them. So we thought it was important to set up a syllabus. This syllabus, in fact, is what we call the basic syllabus, meaning basic and advanced human rights and citizenship training. So in basic training, what we do is explain to young people, for example, what a constitution is, what their rights and responsibilities are in relation to the internet and technology. After that, when we do advanced training, we focus on slightly more specific areas, such as children's rights and environmental rights, the rights of older people, the rights of people with disabilities. Why? Because it's important for us to know who the people around us are and to be sensitive to what's happening around us. So, I'll leave the floor to Mahima to tell us a bit more about DIS-MOI Zen.
So, as Fanny said, Demand Zen is for people between 18 and 24 years old. Students, university children in principle, from different universities in Mauritius, where we raise awareness among young people. In other words, to reach young people in the country, in the region. It's important that it's young people themselves who come forward and speak out for human rights, duties, and responsibilities. And how do we do that? Like DIS-MOI, we run awareness campaigns. But at DIS-MOI Zen, we also try to innovate. We try to bring in different activities. We're trying to bring a youth touch, as we used to say. We're bringing a youth touch, a way of reaching out to young people. We make videos on social media. We do activities as well as debates. And this year, as we say, we have a campaign in favor of the elderly, an activity that we young people feel strongly about, an activity that we want to do with the older people called Bridging the Gap. In other words, young people and the older people come together. We talk, we discuss, we come forward with questions to discuss problems. As for communication, as we were saying, Mr. VJ has already said that there is an intergenerational concept. So we want our young people to be able to talk about this. We are aware that we need to make young people aware of the need to respect our older people. So, because we have our grandparents. As we were saying, today's young people are tomorrow's older people. So, when there's a problem, the source of the problem, we need to educate the young people first. The problems that older people face, such as discrimination, abuse, neglect, what they do in their everyday lives. So we want young people to be educated first, aware of this, and how we can bring about a better society to live in, and for us too in the future, so that there is a better society to continue living.
Other campaigns we will be running include a billboard campaign. And in relation to this campaign, we'd like to make it clear that it's a campaign in which we're partnering with the Mauritius Housing Company and Ellie & Sons. So we'd like to thank them for their collaboration. During this campaign, we will be running a billboard campaign as well as a social networking campaign. It's not necessarily because older people don't necessarily use technology that they shouldn't, because we need young people to come forward with this campaign. So they're the ones who are going to come forward. With videos, with TikToks, as they say, but really influential TikToks, where we ask young people to come and talk about this subject with their grandparents. Come and talk about the abuses that they see, that our older people face. But we'll also have a bus tour at the end of the year where we'll go with young people to different places. We'll have young people talking about this awareness in relation to the older person. But also, Mr. VJ said earlier, it's about creating a questionnaire. It means getting people to fill in a questionnaire to say what different types of abuse they face. And also maybe they're not being abused, maybe they're being treated well at home. So we need to know what is going well and what is going badly in their environment. So a little bit about what young people want to do with this campaign. When we are on the bus, in the metro, in all that, we realize that we are still not aware. In fact, we as young people are still not aware that when we are on the bus or in the metro, there's a yellow seat for the elderly. But do we really respect that? Do we really make room for the elderly when they need to sit down, when they get on the metro or the bus?
So it's also important to raise awareness among young people. So ladies and gentlemen, don't be surprised if you see them all over the island in schools, colleges, on billboard campaigns and on the roads. So it's DIS-MOI that will be speaking for the rest of this year and next, and you'll be hearing from them about greater respect for the rights of the older people through this observatory they've set up on the rights of the older people, which will run for a year. Our program ends here. We look forward to seeing you next week for another Ekrir, Kreol Morisien program.
Kreol Morisien.
Bye for now.